Let's keep the good times rolling. No, Nico Harrison's not joining us. Friend of the program from Pro Football Network. They've got their draft week giveaway, all right? And you've got a chance to win up to $600 if you visit the PFSN mock draft simulator, run a mock draft, screenshot the results, and share in the replies below. Now go to the Pro Football Network X account, all right, and follow all this. Like I said, my boy David Bearman, who's getting ready to join us now, will give you the exact details of how this whole thing works. But for all you draft nerds out there, and we know you're out there, no better way to win awards and win money than with this giveaway. So let's jump out of the D&M Leasing Hotline. Welcome to the program, Mr. David Bearman. The kiddies are asleep, and now do your kids have mock drafts as well? Is that kind of like, you count, you can count sheep, or you can count draft picks, or count trading back? Like, how's that work?
My son is still replaying the last 5 minutes of the Florida Gator National Championship win on repeat every single night. So he hasn't turned the page to the NFL draft yet. He will on Thursday night when I ignore him for dinner and go downstairs and work the draft. But he's still in la-la land for the Gators and their national title run. I don't think he understands how rare those things happen where a team is that good and plays that good and comes from behind in every single game. And he twice, 3 times, 4 times.
Yeah.
In fact, those who watched them all season like me as an alum, they did it all season. They were down 20 points to the worst team in the SEC at halftime and won in a buzzer beater. So they were the cardiac kids all night long, but all season long. But my son got a chance to watch his dad have 3 or 4 strokes during the Final Four. So.
Well, and look, they get your Gators get an honorary Big 12 championship, considering the Big 12 pretty much choked away. Whether we're talking about Texas Tech or U of H, who for 59 minutes controlled that game and then decided, let's go ahead and just turn the ball over 3 straight times. So anyway, I digress. Ruined my bracket, but we'll live to tell the tale. All right, so we are 3 days away from this thing happening, and I'll be honest with you, Dave. Blake and I have talked about this. Like, I'm ready for this thing to get started. Just for the simple fact that there's so much speculation that we're kind of just like numb to it at this point, because outside of Cam Ward going number 1, I don't know that anybody has any clue of what's going to happen at 2 moving back.
No, and I think this is one of the weirdest drafts we've seen in recent time. I don't know if it's a symptom of the draft class not being as good, which is what people have said, or it's the amount of teams who have taken care of their quarterback the last couple of years via the draft, or free agency, seeing the Sam Darnolds and Baker Mayfields of the world do well, and people are not necessarily thinking they need to do it in the draft, or all these teams already have a quarterback. Whatever it is, it seems to be one of those drafts where you really have no idea what's going to happen after Cam Ward. I think your first 3 picks in some sort of order will be set with Ward, Carter, and Hunter, and in one of those orders, obviously Ward going 1 and Hunter and Carter could flip 2 and 3. After that, really, it's a crapshoot. I read something this morning where someone said Shedeur Sanders could go anywhere from 3 to 33, and I absolutely believe that. I think if the Giants don't take him, he could fall significantly. Across the board, it's been a long while since you've seen a running back like Ashton Jeanty be talked about as much as you got to go back to the draft where the Giants went ahead and get Saquon Barkley, and then were made fun of for 3 years for drafting a running back that high, and then last year you had the resurgence of the running backs, and all of a sudden everybody wants Jeanty. So it's going to be a really interesting draft. The only thing I can tell you is buckle up, because we have no idea what we're about to see.
Give me a couple names that you're hearing in this last month or so that you weren't hearing a couple months prior that are creeping up into the first round or are already being talked about with these first-round teams.
Oh, I think you have to start with the South Carolina safety, Nick Imawari, who, believe it or not, I mocked to the Cowboys in my last mock draft a few weeks ago, even though I'm not sure they go safety, but he's a guy who had a fantastic combine and has shot right up the draft board, one of the better combines we've seen in recent time. I've also seen Jeanty has moved up the board a lot. I think you're going to see someone like Shamir Stewart go a lot higher than people imagined. Armand Menbu is somebody who also had a really good combine. He was latter half of the first round, right up until the combine, and now we're talking about a top 10 pick. And because people like Jeanty so much, you have Omari at Hampton, maybe a second running back off the board, when a month ago nobody was even sniffing him in the first round. But the higher Jeanty goes, the higher Hampton goes, because teams are going to need a running back. Michael Williams is someone who has not only had a good combine, but has also shown to be somebody that people are going to look at. Here's a name that's bumped up. And the other one to look for is, I think, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, Walter Nolan, is someone who was latter half of the first round, early second round, that's now getting some looks in the mid-teens.
Carson Schwessinger's a name that people keep talking about. He was mocked as a second-round guy, but after, pro day, and now people are, and again, and part of it could be just, look, we've had 3-4 months to just break down film, and now it's to the point where it's like, all right, we're just throwing names against a board at this point. Is this a guy that you could see sneaking in, and where are we at on Jackson Dart? Is he going to sneak into the first round?
I do think Carson is someone who's going to go latter half of the first round. When I mocked him to the Dolphins in the middle of the second round a few weeks ago, but his name keeps moving up the board. And as for Jackson Dart, listen, I think it all depends on Sanders. I think if Sanders goes early, which I don't think he will, if he goes early, then Dart will go in the first round because then some team's going to need a quarterback, and Sanders and Ward are off the board. If Sanders starts falling, then you start wondering, well, is that second quarterback going to be Sanders or is it going to be Dart? At the end of the day, I think all three will go in the first round. It's just not going to go as early as you might hope. And, keep an eye on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I think will be the team that will go for a quarterback in the middle to end of the first round when the Giants need one, the Titans need one, the Browns need one, but they're probably not going to go there. And then it's really the Saints maybe. And then you're looking at Pittsburgh and, is Seattle all in on the Sam Darnold times, 3 or 4, whatever version of the career you're going to see. But I do think at some point somebody will panic and jump in and get Jackson Dart.
I don't think I've gotten your opinion on this yet, David. And I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot with this, but how would you power rank, and I think the order is very important, the Dallas Cowboys needs going into this draft? Because somebody, a position of need, is going to be left out with them only having 3 top 100 picks, not having a pick in the 4th round as well.
I do think you need to go running back, and I know that they got Javonte Williams in free agency, high upside, low risk, but he's not the guy that's going to lead the Cowboys back to the playoffs. So I think you go running back is how I would power rank it. If Gentry's there, you take it. He's not going to be there. I think you might go with Hampton. If you don't get it in the first round, you go ahead and get a second-round pick. Mm-hmm. I still think they need another wide receiver out there, which is why you see McMillan and Golden being mocked recently there. But I also think you got to shore up the offensive line. Losing Zach Martin, you got to get that line to be good, or else it doesn't matter who you have at the running back. So I'll go running back, receiver, offensive line, and then 4th I would go edge. They have a bunch of holes, and it's weird looking at all the mock drafts and seeing offensive skill players being mocked to the Cowboys left and right. I don't think it's that cut and dry. Our mock draft simulator, which you mentioned off the top of the show, the top 3 players being taken right now are Golden, McMillan, Ekuba. So you're talking receiver, and then you get the running backs and Gentry who won't be there in Hampton. So it looks like people who are drafting for the Cowboys in our mock draft simulator love offense and love skill players. I just don't think it's that simple, and I think there's a lot of offensive linemen in this draft that the Cowboys might be looking at as well.
So I'm curious, a position you didn't say, and I've been on the charge of this, and I just want to get your opinion on that. You did not mention cornerback. With them losing, I always blank on his name.
Who? Jordan Lewis?
Jordan Lewis, excuse me. With them losing Jordan Lewis, one of the better slot corners in the league and a really big piece to the Cowboys defense, do you not think they need to replace that? And as well, the outside corner position. We know Trayvon Diggs will not be ready at the beginning of the season. So right now it's slated for Deron Bland to start along with, I guess, Kyer Elam and Kalen Carson. Do you not see that as much of a concern as I do?
I had that next, honestly, 4th, somewhat 5th as a need for the Cowboys. The problem is where they pick. Corner is not necessarily a great spot for 12 because you're either going to be late and not get a Travis Hunter or Will Johnson who are going to go in the top 10, or you're too early on a Barron, Amos, or Rebel. Because I think the same thing as looking at the Dolphins who pick at 13, that everyone keeps saying they're going to go replace Jalen Ramsey, who, by the way, they haven't traded yet, and they're going to get a corner. I don't think mid-teens is a good spot for a corner because you're either, like I said, you're either too late on the early ones or too early on the later ones. I think second round is where the Dolphins and Cowboys are going to strike, whether it's a Trey Amos or it's a Siobhan Revelle, who, by the way, was a top 10 pick until he blew his ACL out. Maxwell Hairston, who ran a 4.28 40 at the Combine out of Kentucky. Those are 3 guys that are going to be taken early second round that I can see the Dolphins and Cowboys and anybody else who needs a corner striking, because I think if you're taking a corner at 12, either somebody got let go for some reason, whether Will Johnson's knee is worse than you think it is, or you're reaching to take a Bearman, Amos, or Rebel when you can get them in the second round. So if corner is the play, and it very may well be for the Cowboys, I think you trade down and get someone at 19, 20, and 21. I personally think if you're taking a corner at 12 or 13, you're reaching. Yeah, in my estimation.
So I would agree with that. If you went in the first round and kind of doing the mock draft, say you pick any of the receivers you mentioned, Ibuka, Golden, Tet, whatever. I think we can all agree to disagree with whoever they pick. It's really that second round pick where they're there at pick 44. If Judkins, Caleb Johnson, and Henderson are on the board, as well as Amos, Harrison, and Ravel, if you were in the Cowboys room, who should they be picking? Because whichever one you pick, the other one you're punting on.
I would go, at that point, I'd probably go Ravel. I just think he's a first-round prodigy pick that has fallen because of the ACL and no one wants to deal with it. He'll be back, and he is one of the top corners in the nation, as he's shown before he got injured. He's a guy that I think if you're sitting there in the second round and what do you pick, like 44th overall, I think that's somewhere where you can strike for a corner right there. And I would go receiver, running back in the first round, and corner in the second round.
Got a crazy idea. And this is just Fred being, again, look, if everybody else can do crazy stuff at the draft, you know what? Fred can do crazy stuff at the draft as well. Last year, nobody saw, and I'm sure somebody did, but nobody thought Michael Penix was going to go number 8 to Atlanta, especially on the heels of giving, Kirk Cousins $150 million. That said, what team or what scenario could you see look, we hear about the Browns. You've talked about the Giants. We know that even the Saints to a degree, the Steelers maybe being in the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes, and nobody would be surprised if any of those 4 teams took Shedeur. What about the 49ers at number 11? This is a team that's gone eerily silent as far as the offseason is concerned, and we know why from the cap standpoint. But it seems like they're not in love with paying Brock Purdy tons of money. You'd reset your clock as far as quarterback goes, as far as contract is concerned. And is there a more ballyhooed, right, wrong, or indifferent quarterback whisperer than Kyle Shanahan?
I get where you're going with it, but at the end of the day, I don't think any of these quarterbacks, including Cam Ward, which won't matter because he'll go number 1. I don't think any of these quarterbacks are the one that you go ahead and make that jump for when it's not necessarily a need, because it's not. They have another year with Brock Purdy. They technically don't have to pay him yet. I know teams like to jump on it, not wait until the 5th year and get Daniel Jones. That's going to be in the dictionary one day, is getting Daniel Jones.
Right.
You paid him, and then you didn't need to pay him, and yada, yada, yada. If the 49ers – I think they're going to pay Brock Purdy. Listen, everybody else has gotten the bag. Brock Purdy is far from the worst one to get the bag when you look at Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa and all these other quarterbacks who have gotten the $250 million. Brock Purdy's going to get it. If they're not sold on Brock Purdy, I still don't think it's Shedeur Sanders or any of these other. It's just, you can be a quarterback whisperer all you want. You better be sure. I mean, this is the same team who somehow swung and missed at Trey Lance and still went to the Super Bowl.
You ain't lying.
I mean, there's going to be a study one day on how the 49ers screwed up the draft royally and still went to the Super Bowl. But, when you get Mr. Irrelevant and get Brock Purdy as a starting quarterback, go figure. But most GMs and coaches get fired for trading up and getting Trey Lance. It's happened all across the board in the NFL when you sell your soul to get the number 3 pick and screw up. I don't think there's a quarterback in this draft that you need to do that for, and we've seen it with Carson Wentz, and we've seen it with plenty of quarterbacks trading up and getting, whether it's the kid from North Carolina that
Trubisky.
Trubisky. We've seen teams do it and do it again. I think you're out of bodies. I don't think there's anybody here. The combination of the quarterbacks not being great and the teams not needing them. Because if you're the Niners, you don't have to trade it. You can probably get Sanders at 11 if you want him.
Well, that's my point. Is that that was my thing, was that if he was there at 11, would they be willing to say, you know what? Maybe so. Because, like, again, I mean, who knows? I mean, look, they've got, kind of like the Cowboys, the 49ers got plenty of needs on that roster as well. I mean, hell, it seemed like half their depth left for half the NFL this past offseason.
Yeah, and that young, good, the 49ers defense that's going to be here forever that we saw a few years ago is not there anymore. They're older. They're injured. I know Salah's back, great, but these guys are older. They've been injured numerous times. I mean, believe it or not, this defense ranked 26th in the NFL in Pro Football Network's defensive plus metric last year. That's not the Niners that we know.
Yeah.
And they need help. And right now, you're paying a guy $500,000 to be your starting quarterback. You don't go and get another one. Now, a year from now,
different story.
Maybe that's different. But, I mean, keep in mind, Brock Purdy was an MVP candidate through 6 weeks last year.
Well, he was MVP MVP through what? Till Christmas, a couple years ago.
Right. That's not where the 49ers – like, I have a list of team needs, and their quarterback's not even in the top 5. If you got one, you move on and go get another position. Now, teams like the Giants, the Jets, the Seahawks, the Steelers, do you have one? Do you not have one? Is Sam Darnold the answer? Is Geno Smith the answer? Is Russell Wilson the answer? Not really, but Brock Purdy, I would give it another year. And are you going to pay him? Probably. They all get it. I mean, You've gotten a bargain for 3 years. What's another?
Look, I'm not mad at you for that, and you make all the sense in the world. I just figured, you know what, if there was a team that could we see, an out of the box like because you're right. I think we're going to see a lot of like, oh my God, what did we just see in this draft? I think this, like you said, because of just the talent level and where it's at, and there's just the fact that you don't have a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, coupled with the fact that there just aren't that many great quarterbacks, leaves it wide open. Real quick, tell the folks at home because you got plenty of mock drafters, wannabe GMs. A little bit about the giveaway you guys are running and kind of how they can win some prizes.
Yeah, go to profootballnetwork.com/mock draft and go. All you got to do is get to the mock draft simulator. You can even just Google mock draft simulator. The Pro Football Network one's going to pop up because it's the best one in the business, and Google understands that. You go to it, you do a mock draft, you post it at the PFSN Twitter. It's PFN365. You'll see the link there. All you got to do is reply in the comments, and you'd be eligible to win a gaming system of your choice up to $600. We're going to pick one at random, so go in there. We're probably going to do more than one. But in order to do it, you just got to put a screenshot in the comment section of the Pro Football Network tweet about this contest. All the rules are in there as well. And really all you got to do is run a mock, put it in there, ask us to grade it. You might. If not, you're still eligible. And my brother's done 4 of them already, so go in there and do them.
I'm here for it. David, great stuff from you as always. Enjoy Todd Golden while you got him because he's going to look real good in Lawrence after we run Bill Self off after next season. Great stuff from you as always. Real quick, tell the folks at home where they can find you out on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm at David Bearman, Bearman, PFN, David Bearman, PFN, and, of course, go to PFN365 for all of your draft needs.
Dave, great stuff from you as always, my friend. Enjoy Thursday, and we'll do this again in a couple of weeks as we will recap the draft and look forward to all the OTAs and everything else.
Will do. Enjoy it, guys.